for predictions. And we're going to talk about like some of the things I see, like with the coming election, as well as the ex-U.S. intelligence officer that just had came forward saying that he found 10 interdimensional beings or some sort, or that the government um, has like 10 bodies of these interdimensional beings. So I want to just talk about that like real briefly. But what you see on this screen first is this solar storm that was set to strike Earth today. And it's supposed to supposedly, affect the internet, disruption to GPS signals and whatnot. And I think there was like a blackout, a radio blackout of some sort. I'm not sure, but I want to talk about like obviously there's a scientific component to what causes solar flares and whatnot. But for this video, we are going to get more into the esoteric reasons for why we have these solar flares and the effects of the solar flares on not just our consciousness, but our electromagnetic field, how it's affecting people. Yesterday, there was a lot of people coming forward like, oh my gosh, why do we have headaches? Why do we have this? And, so a lot of us were trying to explain to them about the Schumann resonance being affected by these solar flares, as well as, the effect that it has on the electromagnetic field of you as an individual, as a human. So that's one of the reasons why it's affecting people differently. So first, let's actually just talk about like what is a solar flare. And so a solar flare, it is an intense burst of radiation, and it comes from the release of magnetic energy associated with sunspots. So that's obviously the more scientific reason. And so there is a burst of radiation, and you're seeing these solar storms on planet Earth because it's emitting a certain amount of plasma energy that needs to penetrate our Earth's magnetosphere. And so that's why you're seeing these solar flares. We'll talk a little bit about plasma. And the powers that be, they call this a disruption. They call this a storm, but pretty much this plasma from the solar flare is changing the magnetic bubble surrounding the planet for the better. It is not something that that disrupts our planet. That's not the way that we should look at this as humans. It's not a disruption, it's a balancing. Okay, so when you see this radiation increase, this plasma penetrating our magnetosphere and changing the magnetic bubble, will you, via this radiation and this electromagnetism, affecting the whole planet. It is not a disruption. It is a balancing. Okay. And it's necessary because depending on how you view it, depending on your IPU, and your IPU is your ideal parallel universe, depending on your state of consciousness as well. But from what we can see, we collectively, the vibration of this planet has become so low. And so what's happening now is we're doing this auto-corrective balance where we enter into a higher dimension, a new phase for all of us. And so it's just nothing more but a cleansing. And so that's why we're having these geomagnetic storms and these solar flares. So the plasma, let's talk about plasma for a little bit. The plasma that's hitting the Earth, it's filled with hydrogen and helium ions. Okay. And so together with electrons as well, it produces ions, and that is what is infusing your electromagnetic field as an individual. Okay, so it's doing an inner cleansing, and so that's going to affect people differently depending on their current vibration and karmic debt value. And I'm not saying that in a condemning way at all. And I'll explain a little bit more later on what this is, but this plasma, it moves through a magnetic field, so it generates its own electric current. This is not the same plasma that's obviously in the blood. Blood plasma is obviously very sacred, but this is space plasma, sun plasma. Okay, and so it acts as a unipolar conductor, and it conducts electricity better than metals. This is what plasma does. So you better believe this sun plasma hitting the earth is going to inevitably affect your body. It conducts electricity, and so it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your electromagnetic field, and it's designed to do that. This is all part of the great design for the balancing. Okay. And so yesterday I was seeing so many people are like, oh my gosh, these solar flares, I woke up with so much headache. People were saying they feel sick. People were saying they have muscle aches, or they just felt really, really, really lethargic. And so what that just means is that it's not a bad thing necessarily, depending on how you look at it, but it just simply, or some people also saying they feel a little anxious and panicky, but let me get back to my thought. That just means you're having a little rough time adjusting to the upgrade of the electromagnetic field of yourself, merging with this plasma coming from the earth, the hydrogen, the helium, and these electrons hitting your body. Pretty much it's just taking a little longer to adjust it. And so that's the long and short of it. And on the worst case scenario is that you as an individual may not be in alignment with the current frequency of the universe, so it's requiring just a little more work to get you to that level. And if that is you, that's nothing to to be afraid about, or ashamed about, or worried about, um because again, throughout time, like I actually in 2021 we had one of these upgrades. It was a different type. It wasn't necessarily from like these powerful solar flares, but it was at this time, I believe, either solar minimum or solar maximum. I believe it was a minimum, but it was other things hitting the planet, particularly debris from Saturn, believe it or not, that was affecting the planet around December of 2021. It started in 2020, obviously, with this code word with the C19 stuff, and we know what that stands for. But that was a pretty much a esoteric code as well. But in 2021, many of us wasn't prepared for that upgrade as well, so it started affecting people very differently. I was one of those people that got clobbered, and so that's why if you're having difficulty with this one in 2023, don't feel like, oh my gosh, like you have some sort of pathology or anything. In 2021, when we had that upgrade from the Saturn debris, it kicked my ass, man. And so I have no judgment. And I literally almost had died, but that's because I was doing too much. Like I wasn't doing the things I needed to do right as far as like my health. I was drinking. And so when that upgrade came, my body, it had to do so much overtime work to keep up with what the universe and what the uh the energy on planet Earth was doing, how it was shifting. So this time I'm doing much, much better because I'm consciously aware of what's going on. At that time, I was a little aware, but I wasn't putting the action behind that awareness. So this time I'm more aware of what's happening. So I'm consciously checking my frequency and tuning into the channel, tuning the dial of my frequency to make sure that it's in alignment, so I'm not affected too much by these solar flares, by the plasma from these solar flares. So, for the people that were like, oh, you had these headaches, you may have feel sick, you have muscle aches, or tired, or is affecting you emotionally, that's fine. But one thing that will help you during this time is a peppermint essential oil. If you could do peppermint essential oil in a diffuser, for those who really need that clarity, who really, really need that essence of the peppermint. This may throw people for a loop, but if you can put the essential oil with the carrier oil, you might want to put a little bit of that peppermint right under the nose, right near the nostrils, right near. Honestly, do not, and this may sound odd to people, but I've been doing this literally for about 10 years. I've been putting peppermint essential oil under my nose neat for 10 years. And that's because it obviously, peppermint gives you a lot of clarity, helps you with the sinuses and stuff. So for me, usually you want to use a carrier oil with that, but for me, I'm just so used to it. And a lot of times that you would think it would break out the nostril. I'm surprised like my nostrils are not like raw or looking crazy, but sometimes I have to, in the winter, I have to put lotion on the nostril with the peppermint. But I don't know why I just won't put the carrier oil. I think because if when I used to be more out in the public, I didn't want my nose all shiny, so I just used to just do that essential oil at the tip of, right by the nose near the nostril. And so that's going to help you with your headaches. That's going to help you if you're feeling a little anxious during this time with the solar flares. Another thing is the fenugreek. You want to manage the inflammation in the body, especially for us that's still eating meat. I still eat meat. And so if you're consuming meat of any kind, you want to obviously have that grass-fed meat, the free range. Try to, make sure it's kosher, if not anything. But if you're not, if you're still eating the meat, you want to watch that inflammation during this time. So, your fenugreek will be great. Fenugreek is very great for anti-inflammation. There's so many anti-inflammatories. It's not even funny. But then you have your turmeric, your neem, and moringa. Those are some very powerful things during this time. Like neem has a lot of neem and turmeric in particular have a lot of esoteric benefits when you digest them in the body itself. It does they have some very powerful effects on the body internally in the metaphysical sense. Like for instance, neem can knock out, like say, with the Ayurvedic, some of the Ayurvedic beliefs, you take some neem, they believe it can knock out like possession. And some of the sex in India, they will give you neem to knock out, if somebody's possessed or something. That's how strong is believed. I'm not saying you have to believe that. I'm just saying that obviously the objective health benefits you get, and then I'm talking more about the metaphysics as well. So that's why I'm suggesting the fenugreek, turmeric, neem, and moringa for those. You have to be careful because they'd be cracking down on the censorship when you say cure. Or I'm not saying it's going to cure anything. I'm just saying, if nothing else, you get the metaphysical benefits. Yes, try it. Another thing is 528 to 432 frequency at the same time. That help balance out your electromagnetic field with these. And again, if you're one of those people that don't need any things, some people don't need none of these things. I'm talking specifically for the people that are like, what the hell's going on? I've been waking up in a sweat and nervous, and people are really going through it, and I've been researching. I'm like, why so many people? And and so I just want to give some information about these solar flares and the effect that the plasma is having, and so 428 plus 432 hertz at the same time causes a brain entrainment that allows for tranquility of the mind. And so obviously 428 puts you at the love frequency. 432 is more of the calming effect, peace energy. Like if you're someone that's dealing currently with needing to detox the body, perhaps if you have like a parasite or infection, you may want to do 741 hertz. Again, this is all curio. I'm just saying it for legal reasons. And then you have 417 hertz if you want to do home cleansing of any kinds from the spiritual perspective. And so you can also do 600 for peace and tranquility as well. But 428 plus the 432 is good. To be honest, you can play the 417 as well with it. I have done that before. I've had pretty good experiences, but try it first and then see, if you need to add more. And so another thing at this time with the solar flares and this electromagnetic shift, you want to emanate the feeling of good things, just that's going to help you adjust faster. So everything's going to be fine. It's just more so like that conscious awareness of maintaining a frequency. We are in a frequency wars, spiritual war, whatever, but the short and long of it is a frequency war. And that's just it. And also with this plasma, if you've been one of those, and I'm most likely not talking to like anybody that listens to my videos, but just in case, you may know somebody that you see them really like in the thick of it, and not so much, materially, but they just in the thick of it. if you're one of those people that have been getting off on sinister stuff, like just sowing a lot of dissension and generally very hateful in terms of the energy that you put out. Like for instance, like there are people that hex people for no reason. Then what's going to happen is these solar flares are going to balance out, because part of balancing, when we think about it, when we think about justice, justice is inevitably a part of the balance in a universe eyes. And when we talk about justice in our sense, it's just the balancing out of electrons, protons, photons, and electromagnetism. And it also various forms of frequency waves. So that could be infrared rays, that could be anything. Infrared, what's the other one? Ultraviolet. So it's just a balancing, and even the waves that you send out is an energy. So if you send out, you know, these things to unwarranted people, they have to adjust. They have to adjust their energy from the attack, the psychic attack, the unwarranted hate, the unwarranted hexes that you put on that person. But then that energy has to go back. That's why return to sender is such a powerful you know, a powerful spell that people do, powerful ritual that people do, because it works in balancing out the electrons and the photons and protons and electromagnetism that comes from the waves. Is everything, it carries a wave. And so if not if you, but if for the people that have been like sending horrific energy to people unjustly, just cursing them unjustly, just naturally jealous, what's going to happen is that the solar flares are going to remove that from the person that you send it to electromagnetic, their electromagnetic field. And as far as like the horrific frequency that emits, whatever wavelength that it's at, I believe fear is about 200 hertz, or I'm not sure of the frequency of hate, but I think it's like 100 hertz or whatever. So like say you send out 100 hertz of hate to a person that you don't know, or that don't deserve it. That person, with this balancing act, literally what's happening with this emission of the plasma is it's sending it back to the person that it came from. It's just a mirroring effect. It's actually nothing personal at all. It's just nothing personal. It's I won't even say quantum mechanics, but it's because it's a little bit different. It's more of balancing out the simulations of people's IPUs, their ideal parallel universes, and their ideal frame rates that they see that they project with their eyes. Okay, so it's nothing personal. It's just more so like everyone has to carry their own shit at this time and have to deal with their energy, good or bad. And so that's what that's inevitably a part of the balancing act. Part of the balancing, the cleansing is justice. Just like we have love and peace and all this stuff. Yeah, you have justice. Or what people would say, oh, karma, whatever. But as the earth balances to a higher frequency, it goes through this removal of low governing force. Okay, in which whatever is not serving a collective or universal will, and earth collective will as well, it just gets removed and gets recycled back. And it's a balancing act of if you look at it in scientific terms, it's literally a balancing act of electrons, plasma, and electromagnetism. If you go more deeper, you get into like obviously the different forms of these wavelengths. But it's not even about like, oh, here's this judgment, here's this punishment. It's not even about that either. It's not even about being perfect or having to follow any certain rules or any certain tenets. It's just simply a process of making a shift in resonance based on what frequency your heart and mind is emitting. So if it's high, you would have a good time. It's output, input, input, output. But if it's like hate or fear or shame or guilt or grief, you're going to have a harder time making that shift during this time with dealing with these solar flares and dealing with these plasmas, because those vibrations, fear, shame, grief, guilt, all that stuff, they're inherently low governing force because it doesn't serve the collective will of the universe. So it has to balance out. It has to be some balancing. That's why you want to mind your thoughts at this time, thoughts towards yourself as well. You don't want to send yourself, because sometimes you can create a hell of your own making through consciousness. If you are directing negativity, maybe you're not directing it towards anyone else, but you're directing it towards yourself. You want to check that as well. That's also going to be balanced out. The people that have the low self-esteem and that's doing the negative self-talk, all of that's going to be balanced out as well through this plasma affecting your electromagnetic field from the solar flares. So that's going to change as well. So when I was being, kind of obnoxious, when I was like, in one of the videos, like, oh, the solution is very simple. Just raise your frequency. It really is consciously. Again, it's not about this concern with controlling the behaviors of people or judging acts in particular. It's simply moving in flow with what brings you joy and what adds to the betterment of collective will, and generally speaking. And so that doesn't mean you have to be some saint somewhere, with a burqa on and not having any fun. You should totally have fun and enjoy life, but it's just more so with the input, output, input. Because right now, what these plasma is doing from the solar flares is it's output, and then dang, it's a spider in my room. There's this input, this output from the solar flare from the plasma affecting our Earth's magnetic sphere, which in turns affect our individual electromagnetic field. And so it's infusing us and it's doing this balancing collectively. And so when we talk about like this collective will, pretty much there's some lag in human consciousness in terms of the powers that be purposely, or we call our inorganic ones, purposely trying to control the states of consciousness of Earth in a dense manner, in a way that does not serve the universal will. And so that's why there's so much shift in what's happening with the planet. So the solar flares are cleansing. That's pretty much all it is. And it also, that's just for the humans. Okay, for the human race, that's all you pretty much need to know. For the animal, that's all you need to know, is that it's cleansing, it's balancing out, it's infusing, and it's infusing the planet with more electromagnetism, more electrons, which to balance out. But it's also some warning shots to a certain group of individuals that are actively using solar engineering to block out the sun to prevent the evolution and consciousness and biology on this planet. Okay, you know what? There was a spider in my room, so I'm going to actually pause this. Just give me 1 minute to just get this spider. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, generally, spiders are a good omen for me. I still don't like them to breed though in the room, so I got the spider. Okay, so back to what I was saying. The solar flares, they're also a warning shot. The Earth is the sun is a higher order being, and so we know. I actually did a whole project on this. Maybe I wish I could like show you like everything. Maybe I could find the slides, but pretty much that they are using solar engineering tactics to block out the sun. Now they do this by using reflective mirrors, by sending huge reflective mirrors out into the universe, or trying to mimic the way you would do a volcano. And pretty much when a volcano erupts, it emits like this ash cloud, and that ash cloud cools the temperature on the planet by blocking out the sun because it'd be so much damn smoke, right? And so what they were doing was trying to recreate the ash cloud, a certain type of combustion where it would create these ash cloud and black out the sun. They were also obviously doing the aerosols is another way. But when I found out about it's either the reflective mirror they use, and the reflective mirror goes out into the universe like a satellite, and it pretty much takes the sunlight that's supposed to hit the earth, it takes it out and send it back out. Now that is the most craziest thing, that you would ever hear of. Then trying to recreate the cloud from a volcano to black out the sun. And so all of that's like, are you insane? Like and then we're talking about, they put billions of dollars into these projects funded by some of the biggest institutions in the world. Harvard was definitely one of them. And so I remember doing this project, and I had got all this research on it, as the solar geoengineering. And I remember intuitively thinking, this was years ago, I was like, these motherfuckers is crazy. And so they're trying to black out the sun. But why do you want to black out the sun? Okay, the quote unquote climate change or whatever. So you would resort to blocking the sun versus just working on the emissions that you claim are polluting, which the obviously diesel fuel does affect carbon emissions. But why wouldn't you just deal with the carbon emissions? Why wouldn't you just deal with the amount of pollution that the humans are creating versus keeping the pollution the same, which is going to pollute even more, but then just black out the sun? Now, that's crazy as hell. So obviously it was that solar flares that you see right now. Oh, they definitely warning shots at some of the people, the inorganic ones that is actively trying to prevent the evolution of consciousness, not just of consciousness, but biology as well on this planet. So anytime you get an increase of radiation anywhere in any dimension or any planet, it means that you're going to have to evolve to get melanin. So that means that more melanin is going to also immediately come into play. Anytime you get more radiation and melanin go together like fish and damn water. Okay. And so when we see right now with this planet getting warmer, humans will adjust. Everybody will adjust. But when it's man-made, it takes a little slower to adjust as far as evolution wise. But then there's also ways around that, believe it or not. But this has been predicted by scientists as well. So it's not like something I'm just pulling on my ass like that. Eventually people in animals, they're going to get more darker because of the radiation increase with melanin. And so those who are still caught up with the power thing in terms of running this system with the race-based consciousness, the racial stratification, they are very much aware of this. And so they want to stop that because it's a bigger harbinger. There's a bigger prophecy at play that they're not telling the human race about. And so they know that what's happening is a slow change of guard. It's actually a fast change of guard, but in regards to how society is run. And right now it's been prophesied that they will only have about 1,000 to 6,000 years of rulership. Some people say it was 6,000 years. Some people say it was only 1,000, but pretty much the time is up, and so the treaties to run this dimension, the power that these people were given, that in which they set up this sort of race-based consciousness, it's coming to an end. And so the solar flares, this increase of radiation hitting the earth, the increase of the plasma hitting the earth, this is all signs of the times, believe it or not. And this is what it meant where it said, okay, no water like last time, fire the next time. That's all it means. But it's not in a typical sense that you would think like the planet's going to be wiped out with a fireball. Not so much that, but it's a very low level concept to run a system based on racial stratification and from a higher order being perspective. So believe it or not, some of these solar flares are being conjured up by interdimensional beings who are very advanced to humans. How do I say this without being offensive? A human in these beings' eyes from the chaos intelligence realm, they would be looked at as ants, and say the other interdimensional beings that have more power than you, but are not more powerful than you. They have more power in terms of running they control the military, they control the system, but they are not more powerful than humans. Humans have a lot of power, believe it or not. They would be like the potato bugs. Okay. So the beings from the chaos intelligence realm, they do see you as special. They do have respect for your rights. They see you as sentient beings. But that is the beings that are sending the solar flares, that are able to work with this electromagnetic field, or they literally able to conjure this, and that's the one those are the ones that are fusing the planet with that plasma. Okay. And so from that realm, that's the realm that creates a lot of the dark energy, and that's where this conception of fusion power and melanin even comes into play. I don't want to say dark energy because people get scared, but pretty much the dark energy that expands the universe. And so it is a warning shot to a specific group of people, not humans though. It's a group of species in power that the average human is not even aware of at this point. They are becoming more aware of them though. So the average human has nothing to worry about unless you are under slave orders from unless you take orders or you under some type of slave deal with them inorganic beings who are forcing you to also work against the collective will of the planet Earth. Then you have nothing to worry about. To be honest, nobody has anything to worry about. But also, I wanted to show this report. I'll stop sharing this. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, let's stop sharing this. I want to show you. Is this the report that I want to show? Oh, yeah. So this is. Sometimes I just get. Okay, here we go. You get a little excited. Okay, so let's show you this. Ex-U.S. intelligence office claims U.S. has a variety of alien bodies. They specifically said 10. They said they found 10. Now, if you look at this report, I told a friend with receipts 2 years ago. I still have my phone. Not so much my phone, but my WhatsApp account from 2 years ago, where I was telling it's not really a friend, but an acquaintance from one of my colleagues. But I was just like, don't be shocked. It's 8 to 12-foot beings that's going to be landing here soon, and some of them here to help, some of them not. It's going to be a lot of havoc, and they just, ha ha ha, yeah. But it's funny that this ex intelligence officer is talking about, we found 10 bodies of these interdimensional beings that were 8 foot tall, and you got the area where they were found. It's other people coming forward was like, yeah, they were 8 feet tall. So I saw that years ago, and I just was like, wow, this is all coming out. But the beings that they're talking about, they're not from our dimension, but they are here. I actually suspect that these are the ones that have been here. There are some that have been here for a long time. The most advanced ones, they don't necessarily need to shapeshift or take on, they don't need to they don't actually need to even be here physically. Some of them, with what they're doing now, some of them are able to take on a human form, just like the ones that they say are 8 to 12 feet tall that they found, that the ex-intelligence officer said that the U.S. government got. Them 8 to 12 feet beings, they do things too. Like I don't even want to get into all of this. I'm not, because it just, I don't need them trying to knock on my door and question me like, how you know all that shit. I ain't gonna go there. But the most advanced ones, they are using quantum entanglement and quantum tunneling to get messages out. They have been sent down with human flesh, believe it or not. Some of the most advanced ones, and some of them are they're not 70, 80, 90. They're a little bit higher than that, and so they don't need to appear in any sort of meat suit at all. Some of them are egregores of a consciousness, of the egregore that represent a particular energy that are also been sent down on this planet as well. That has been sent down. Oh man, it's like by the dozens and dozens. It's not even funny. And so many humans, this is why there's been an obsession. They already knew that these species use quantum entanglement, quantum tunneling. So that's another reason why there's been an obsession with dumbing down humans with fluoride, calcifying their pineal glands, making sure they don't activate, making sure they never wake up, making sure they don't remember past lives, making sure that humans separate spirituality from the physical world, that they only see themselves as the physical, and all this stuff. Like, They've been doing it and saying that the DNA is junk DNA. And so many humans do that are many of the humans that are not even indigenous to Earth, they're going to start having these sudden epiphanies and sudden awakenings of the dimensions that they come from, the missions that they took on through their soul, or even just through um, what they decided as an entity in themselves. And so through quantum tunneling, they're also going to be doing. Humans are also going to be awakening to who they truly are. Not everyone, but those of you that are higher order beings that came down in the flesh from different realms, because this was a mission that was taken on. And so, you know, that's what's happening, and that's the connection with the solar flares. But also, so they said they found let me share this one I talked about. Yeah, so this one is one of them, but here's another one where, let me see, stop sharing, where this, it says UK top secret expert gives his verdict on the 10 aliens found by the US government. So this one also was this was about 4 days ago, I believe. Yeah, this one was 4 days ago. And so this was just to show you that, they're trying to get some information out to you guys. I did a video like, is the quote unquote alien invasion real, or is it a government cover up? Is it a psyop? And it's a little bit of both. It's definitely a psyop. It's definitely a cover up. It's pretty much to get the public to let the public know, to usher the public into this awareness that this system has always been run by interdimensional beings. It's nothing new, and they have been forced to pretty much come out in the open by the higher order beings. They have been forced to come out to the open and come out to the public, to humans. That's all it is. But they're just trying to come up with like this narrative of how they're going to do that. And so they talk about they found these 10 bodies and all this shit. Like, okay, whatever. But for 2024, there's going to be a massive shift in power as certain melanated bloodlines get back into power, especially during the age of the divine feminine. And so you're going to see this election that's coming up is going to be very, very, very odd. It's going to be a very, very odd election. You guys remember like when that, I can't even go there because they cracking down on that too. What happened with that election with Trump and Biden? We saw how everything, we saw all that went down. Like, we saw that. And so this one is going to be odd because the thing is, they go off a bloodline. And we all know, like, somebody did one of those young children, I think it was a British child, they did the genealogy of all of the presidents and was able to put them all on his family tree and realize that they were all cousins, every single last one of them related. And just through the bloodline, through a royal bloodline. And so we all know that all of the presidents, they get selected through a ritual. Not so you get elected from the ritual aspect, and then so it's a selection, but the public thinks they are obviously electing. But anyways, they always follow prophecy. Traditionally, they have always followed the prophecy of these bloodlines, and through the ritual, you get selected and you run for president. And then usually it's a process in which these are monarch, how do you explain this? But these are bloodlines that have generational monarch control within their bloodlines. They go through a process, and so it's easy to control them. Though they're related to the interdimensional beings that run this system, and even some higher order beings, for the most part, they're like puppets. They get told what to do, but they have like this fancy role as the president. But this time, the bloodline that won that presidency through the ritual and through the bloodline prophecies happened to be Black American. Yeah, you heard it here first. So now it's like, so they're like, hold up. How did this happen? And they always knew the Black American bloodline was related to them. They always knew that. Like, Dave Chappelle is related to Jimmy Carter. Like, no lie. And Thomas Jefferson. Claude Anderson is related to Thomas Jefferson. Like that. Like, so they knew Black Americans have that because it come from the Moorish bloodline, but that also came from some of the stuff, obviously, in Britain and Rome as well. But this system was originally Moorish, you know. And so they've been scrambling to figure out like how what to do, because this, like, no, we're not letting that happen, because there's other things that go with that prophecy. Obviously, the change of guard, this shift to 5D, but then it's like, you know, the person that actually won through the ritual to get selected is a happen to be a Black American that cannot be controlled. That they're the monarch gene that is usually, you know, able to, that these interdimensional beings connect to, kind of shattered pretty much. And so the higher order beings are you know, are this is why all this stuff is going down the way it's going down, because it's like this shift in power was supposed to happen. It was supposed to go back to the people of a certain bloodline. And so there's a scramble, because those who are currently in power are like, no, we'll go to war. We will literally go to war. And we talk about occult bloodlines, secret societies. Like that's what happened with, I don't know, I should be getting on to this, but that's what happened with the last situation. It was secret societies fighting at the top. And so that's what's happening now. And so the rightful heir and the higher order beings, they decided that they would be okay with a Trump presidency for the next 4 years, to allow for a slower transition back to where it's supposed to go. But America will have a Black American president whose bloodline is pretty much of a royal Sephardic Moorish and American indigenous order. It's a Sephardic, a royal Sephardic Moorish, but they also have American indigenous bloodline. And so that bloodline from the Sephardic Moorish perspective, based on their genealogy, literally based on their genealogy, like it's not something that somebody's just pulling out of it. It's like proven in genealogy, is connected to obviously some of the founders of very, very, very powerful institutions. These are Black Americans, by the way. You know, very, very powerful institutions that they've been burying and putting our people clearly at the bottom, and not promoting a lot of Black Americans weren't doing genealogy. A lot of Black Americans were thinking they are from Africa and stuff. So that's what was causing a lot of, you know, it was causing a lot of chaos in terms of not knowing who we were. And so that is why they were very frowning upon like the genealogy stuff, because this is what kind of blew the keg off for everybody. And in Black Americans with this delineation stuff, that really just messed up the plans of you know, just keeping us at the bottom. But this particular Black American through the bloodline has ties to not just the Sephardic Moorish and American indigenous blood, but the Emperor of Rome, the royal British blood, as well as the interdimensional beings who set this all in motion. And so they have the light codes that bring peace, pretty much. This is all a prophecy that they would bring a period of peace, not just within the American lineage and the American people, but even in terms of foreign policy, they would bring peace within the collective globe, in terms of whether it be the African lineage, Asian lineage, Muslim Brotherhood, certain European lineages. So this is a prophecy that they are truly hiding from you at the highest levels, because it signifies an end of power for a certain group of people that just do not want to see a system that's based on unbridled capitalism and racial stratification end. A system that is inherently unjust to others and beneficial to some. That's, you know, and that's just the long and short of it. And so the Black American is supposed to be is supposed to be selected to run for the presidency and gets in, you know, you guys would think that you would, I guess not you guys, but the public would think they're actually going to vote or whatever. But that's where it's at. They let everybody in. They even let, you know, an immigrant win that presidency, but they didn't let the people that actually built the country win a presidency yet. And so for the 2024 election, a lot of Americans are also going to awaken to the fact that the presidencies are selected, not elected, and that it's based on bloodline and occult rituals. And for this election, people are going to intuitively know something is not right. And it's not going to just be where people sweep it under the rug like they did last time when they knew something was off with the last election. It's not going to, they're not going to do that. Now, all of this is going to come out. All of this, everything what I'm saying right now may sound like, oh my gosh, that person just don't know what they talk about. But eventually, all of it will make sense. Now, again, the higher order beings and the rightful heir are okay with letting Trump step in for the 2024 thing, because if he does, he has to honor the wish of that higher order, and then things would be fine. But they require that he work with the grass, which he was willing to do the last time. That's why they came up with the platinum plan for Black Americans that Ice Cube came out with. They requiring him to work with the grassroots Black American leaders to make things equitable for the Black community, as well as the American people in general. But also the next, and we have a bull economy, like, things run smoothly for them 4 years, not a bunch of chaos bullshit that they be pulling to do these like lockdowns and trying to like how like what happened when that pandemic happened. And so if he does step in, they're requiring that righteous presidency, which is in line with the oath that his bloodline took. Now, Trump has some Moorish background. He is not, I'm not saying he's Black. I'm not saying he's a Moor. I'm just saying his bloodline took an oath to protect the people that fall under those light codes of his particular bloodline. And so, to be frank, that would be most of the American people who have been in America since its inception, regardless of race and gender. That bloodline also made promises to the Indians that was broken, so that must also be atoned for. Has to be atoned for. Now, that is the real definition of what "Make America Great Again" means. Now, people will say he's an ideologue. Again, this is the propaganda political media world. If you pay attention to that and let that brainwash you, then you're missing the whole shadow side of what this is really all about. Okay. These are not ideologues. These are people that are caught up in bloodline wars. These are people that are warring within secret societies, vying for the throne of America, which would be the White House, which would be the president of a corporation. Technically, you're the president of a corporation as far as the American government. So it has nothing to do with race or left wing, right wing, none of that. However, the rightful heir to that White House will be rectified within the next 15 years, and it will be a Black American in there. You're also going to see for 2024, you'll see concerted efforts to have more balance in general, believe it or not, because the higher order beings that have that have, how do I say this? The higher order beings pretty much have the interdimensional beings that these secret societies and that these bankers and that the powers that be answer to. They have them under a chokehold. And so it's like, what in the world is, that, and it's all compartmentalized. So nobody knows what the right hand is doing. Like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing because it's compartmentalized for those reasons. And so they use a lot of hive mind, a lot of tactics to move that collective power in a certain way, even though it's compartmentalized. So at the top, they really know what's going on, but as you go lower and lower, certain levels, at certain degrees, and certain lower levels, they don't know what the fuck is going on. So that everybody's getting the order, and then it works like a hive mind, and everybody just follows, just like how you see like everything when you see like all them news stations reporting on the same story and all. It's like it's the hive mind. And so, in that attempt to bring more balance to this planet, there are going to be a lot of institutions that crumble, but for the benefit of humanity. So you're going to see minimum wage go up, UBI incomes. They're going to do some pilot testing with the UBI for Head Start for retirement. I'm actually going to be crafting something out and sending it to our government, but we need, like, it has to be something where, obviously we know about like this, it's not housing bubble, I wouldn't call it that, but today more than ever, like Americans in general are having a harder time catching up with retirement and housing, and so there'll be like some policies for that, just to balance things out, give people a head start off the whatever they do with that head start. Just like the GI Bill, came out and to get people the ability to buy a home and all that stuff, and FHA loans and all that stuff. There are going to be more programs like that, is what I'm saying, that help to balance things out. In terms of saving for retirement, getting a head start on retirement through UBI, getting a head start on housing closing through UBI. So it would be a pilot program, probably like 1 or 2 years. You'll see stuff like that. You'll see a more concerted effort to get rid of race-based consciousness. And that's going to be a big with it, but that comes with the healing of humanity. Humanity has to heal itself, and particularly the people that have been grievanced, that would be the Black Americans, and the melanated people in general will have to contend with the healing aspect. And then those who cause the injustice have to do the inner work within to also change these systems as well. Or they'll start parallel infrastructures on their own, and that would be totally viable in the eyes of the universe. And so you see this removal of low governing force. Obviously, we're sending the warning shots through Mother Earth, nature itself, with solar flares, with the messing about the communication, technology, the satellites, and all that stuff. All that's being done by the higher order beings. It's not a dig at humans. It's a dig at those who said that they were going to give up the power from the treaty of the dimension of this dimension, and they're refusing to do it. The dig is at them. It's like, really? Okay, so we'll just shut your shit off, or we'll send some warning shots. We'll raise the vibration of this planet so high and awaken the human race so high, where there'll be no way that you could come back. You will not be able to find any type of psyop that will be able to control humans. You won't be able to run an unjust system, because they're not going to go for it. And so it's a lot of things that's going on. And I'm not saying every human is participating in like this race-based stuff and this low governing force in terms of the degradation of what's been going on with children and women. And again, I'm talking about at the level of a person that don't know what I'm talking about. It's most likely this information is so compartmentalized that you're like, okay, I don't see the big deal here, or I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, there's a lot going on that is like they just came out with at the Pentagon. That one of the chiefs of the matter of fact, let me look this up, because I like to show like what I'm looking at before I just say stuff. Let me see this Pentagon child. Let me see. No, it's Pentagon official. Okay, yep, here we go. I'm gonna show this to you. Let me show this. Okay. Okay, so it says Pentagon official overseeing federal schools arrested in Georgia human trafficking sting. And so this is a senior Pentagon official who federally operated school systems. This is child trafficking, by the way. Okay. And so this is not the only one that has been caught. You guys have seen this stuff all on the news, and we've seen a lot of the what people used to call conspiracy theory. Everybody was calling us crazy. We conspiracies and da da da. But as you can see, this stuff is clearly real. This was just November 27th, by the way, of 2023. And so there's many situations like that that we see popping up. And so that's what I mean when I'm saying that there's higher order beings pulling the strings behind a lot of this stuff in terms of the preventing this degradation of children. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And so the human awakening is also going to be too vast. That's one of the solutions. It's like fighting a frequency war. You're fighting a World War III already. It's just that it's more frequency based. And it's also media based. So it's a lot of mind control. So it's a lot of vying for the hearts and minds of the people through consciousness. That's what this warfare is about. World War III is already happening. It's been happening. What do you think the pandemic was about, when they forced you guys to go take the maybe not you guys, but they forced people to go take the jibby jab. What you thought that was about? That was warfare all day. You don't work, you get fired if you don't do this. If you don't do, that's coercion. Like, look what they did to our military. So it's like, come on, like that was them sending a shot at the higher order beings, by the way. And so um it's just ramping up. And so human awakening is going to be very vast, and the vibration is going to, what's going to happen is the vibration is going to be too high for the homunculus interdimensional beings that are in power to manage or to catch up. Okay, because they run off of low governing force. So everything they do is fear based. That's why all the news is fear based. Everything you do is trauma based. That's why the music is so toxic. That's why they always showing wars. Now they got the Israel and Hamas and all this stuff. Was it not Hamas, Gaza, or whatever? They got all these psyops. Everything is to get you panicked. And even when you think of, like, even when they do the financial markets, when I've gotten more into the market, and I'll be looking at, I'm like, everything has always got to be fear based. I'm like, so that's their game, that's their MO, that's their ammunition, that's their weapon. Everybody got a spiritual weapon, or a weapon that they use to stay in power. That is certainly theirs. And so the higher order beings weapon, a human's weapon, actually, is the high frequency. And to be honest, a frequency at 1,000 hertz or a frequency of 852 is not, will never be equal to a 100, 200 hertz frequency. It will, that higher frequency will always drown out the lower frequency. It's always it's a more powerful weapon inherently. And so what they were taught down here through, like, these occult societies that were teaching that you can reverse engineer the polarity of a frequency and match it. This is what they were teaching the occult. This is what Crawley and them was teaching. And what they're now finding out, that is just, they were fed horseshit. I don't know who told them that. And so it's like the higher order beings are looking like, what will make you think that a 100 hertz frequency could ever be on the same level of a 1,000 hertz frequency? It just will not happen. You can do it. So that 1,000 hertz frequency could literally drown out a couple million people. Just one person that emanates at that frequency, just one person that's at a 528 hertz frequency would be more powerful than a couple 100,000 of people that's at a 100 hertz. So this is a very powerful weapon to deal with. So this is why humans have that heart and mind, and they're capable of operating at 528. They may not do it now because they're so busy working and doing whatever they want to do, but they can totally use this as their, and so that's the higher order beings weapon. And there's some secrets that I'm obviously, the information I'm giving out, this is baby food. It's not nothing that's so unheard of or deep. Because there's secrets even within that, like where, we don't give out everything, right? But yeah, the higher order beings weapon is vibrate this bitch so high where the homunculus interdimensional beings that's in power, there's no way they can manage or catch up. Any human that are working for them or working for that side, they're going to get drowned out. And you don't need, the beautiful thing about that is, you don't need a bunch of people, because again, somebody that's operating at a 1,000 hertz frequency will easily take out a million people that are operating at 100 hertz, 200 hertz. They'll take out all of that they can over trump that frequency. So even if you just got 50,000 people, that's enough to change the whole vibration of America itself. And there's 314 million people here. And so that's what it is. The solar flares are not a disruption. It is a balancing. I know that's a staccato thought to go to, but if for those who came a little later, that's what we talked about, how the solar flares was a warning shot, but also it was a balancing and healing for the planet. But it was affecting humans differently based on how it's affecting our personal electromagnetic field. Because again, I talked about earlier how those solar flares have hydrogen and helium in the plasma, and that plasma is hitting our Earth's magnetic sphere. And what it's doing is it's balancing. But what they're putting out on the news is that it's disrupting. Oh, it's disrupting our stuff. It's messing up our satellites. It's da-da-da. Well, I guess they would see it as a disruption, right? But from a higher order being's perspective, we're like, no, that is totally cleansing and balancing. And it's going to affect humans in different ways based off of their frequency. So we're actively telling humans, like, you'll have a better time adjusting to everything. If you do the basic things to raise your vibration. That's what we talked about earlier. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. That's what was on my mind. I was just really thinking about that. I don't see any comments, so I'll just end it here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.